Hello, my friends. Have you ever compared yourself to others and felt terrible afterward? If so, well, you're not alone. Most people think comparison is something so bad that they have to avoid at all costs. But what if I tell you, it's just a normal habit in today's online world? Every time you scroll through social media, your mind automatically starts comparing your life to people on these posts. Your friend has just bought a new house. One got promoted, another shows their overseas trip. We simply believe we're not working hard enough. But what if the problem isn't your effort not enough, but because we've been looking in the wrong direction all along? Jack Ma understood this earlier than most people. Today, he's well known as the founder of Alibaba, one of China's most successful entrepreneurs, and someone who changed global business forever. But long before the success, before many inspirational speeches, and before millions of people had ever heard of him, he was just an ordinary person, like millions of others. He wasn't rich, and he wasn't the best student. He failed his college entrance exam not once, but twice. He was rejected by dozens of employers, including just a CVS position in KFC. Imagine watching everyone else move forward while you stayed exactly where you were. That was definitely a very bad feeling, right? But Jack Ma didn't give up or let failure define him. Instead, he focused on improving himself every single day. Years later, those quiet changes became one of the biggest reasons behind his success. If you're someone who constantly compares yourself to others, then this video is for you. Stay with me until the end, and I promise, after these 7 lessons, you'll discover something far more valuable than you ever imagined. Let's get started. The first lesson: your future is your own responsibility. Nobody is coming to save you. That may sound harsh, but you have to hear this. It's easy to blame bad luck, difficult people, or unfair situations for your failure. When you repeat those stories again and again, the more they become your reality. Blaming may make you feel better for a moment, but it never moves your life forward. People who believe they can influence their own lives usually recover from failure faster, build stronger relationships, and achieve more over time. The difference isn't intelligence or talent. It's the willingness to take responsibility. Jack Ma lived by this mindset. Before Alibaba, he faced rejection after rejection, and his first business barely survived. Even his parents doubted his ideas. People didn't believe he could succeed. Of course, he felt disappointed, tired, doubtful, but instead of let this negative thoughts control him, he kept asking himself, what's the next step? How can I do to fix this? Is there any way to improve it? It's not about looking at others and comparing non-stop. It's about looking at yourself and taking your own responsibility of your life. Think about 2 people who fail the same interview. One spends weeks saying the company was unfair. The other spends those same weeks improving interview skills and applying again. A year later, one is still talking about that rejection, while the other has already moved on to a better opportunity. The event was the same. The response was different. So stop asking, whose fault is this? Start asking, what can I do next? Because your future doesn't begin to change when life becomes fair. It begins to change when you decide to take responsibility for it. Once you take ownership of your life, a new question shows up. Where are you headed? That brings us to lesson 2. Find your dream and chase it with everything you've got. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they never decide what they truly want. They stay busy every day, but being busy isn't the same as making progress. Without a clear direction, even your hardest work can take you in circles. Imagine a student who changes goals almost every month. One month she wants to start a business because everyone says entrepreneurs make a lot of money. The next month she wants to become a designer after watching a few inspiring videos online. Then she decides to learn coding because people say it's the future. She's always learning something new, always working hard, yet she never gets close to mastering anything. Does that sound familiar? Sometimes, we're not moving slowly. We're simply moving in too many directions at once. Let's look back to the story of Jack Ma's early years. When he traveled to Silicon Valley, he presented his idea to around 30 investors, and all said no. But did he give up? No, and never. Back in his small apartment in Hangzhou, he gathered 18 people who shared that belief and tried to persuade them invest in the project. Those early teammates, later known as the 18 Arhats, worked together for months, with no guarantee of success. They weren't following what was popular. They were building something they genuinely believed in. If you're still trying to figure out your own dream, don't put pressure on yourself to have all the answers today. Instead, set aside 10 quiet minutes every Sunday. Ask yourself one simple question. What kind of person do I want to become? Not what your parents expect, not what social media tells you, just what feels meaningful to you. Then choose one goal you can focus on for the next 3 months, and write it down somewhere you'll see it every day. A written goal is much harder to ignore than a passing thought. Once you know where you're going, your daily decisions become much easier. Instead of asking, "What should I do next?" you'll start asking, "What's one small step I can take today?" That's how big dreams are built, not in one dramatic moment, but through hundreds of ordinary days spent moving in the same direction. Lesson 3. Protect your focus. Every day, thousands of companies compete for one thing. Do you know what it is? It's catching your attention. Every notification, every short video, every endless scroll is designed to keep your eyes on the screen just a little longer. Have you ever planned to do something but ended up scrolling TikTok or YouTube for hours because you heard a notification? If yes, comment 1 to let me know under this video. The internet has made the world feel smaller than ever before. We can see what everyone is doing at any moment. We can learn everything so easy. That's amazing. But it also creates a problem. Instead of focusing on our own lives, we spend more and more time watching someone else's. And when I talk about focus, I don't just mean concentrating on work. I mean protecting your attention from constant comparison and distraction. Maybe you understand this already. Social media rarely shows the stress, the failures, or the lonely nights behind photos or videos or posts that you compared yourself to. And if we're honest, we don't post those moments either. Jack Ma understood the value of focus long before social media became part of everyday life. Even after Alibaba became successful, he often reminded his team not to obsess over competitors. You should learn from your competitor, but never copy. Copy, and you die. Forget about your competitors, focus on your customers, Jack Ma said to his employees. He believed that the moment you spend more time watching others than improving yourself, you begin to lose your direction, even your confidence, and belief in your dream. So how can you protect your focus? Start with one simple habit. Choose apps that steals most of your attention and turn off its notifications, or give yourself a daily time limit, or, if possible, delete it. When it's time to work or study, leave your phone in another room. If it's out of sight, it's much easier to keep your mind on what matters, because out of sight, out of mind. Finally, practice just 10 minutes of complete focus every day. Read a book, write in a journal, or simply sit and think without looking at a screen. 10 minutes may not sound like much, but done every day, it trains your mind to stay where you want it to be. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you own. Protect it, because wherever your attention goes, your future follows. Lesson 4. Work quietly. Have you ever told someone about a big goal, only to lose motivation a few days later? If that has happened to you, you're not the only one. People who often gain success rarely announce their plans before they're ready. Of course, they may ask for advice from someone they trust, but most of the time, they stay focused on the work instead of talking about the work. They understand that real progress happens when nobody is watching. Here's something interesting. Psychologists have found that when you tell people about a goal, your brain can reward you with a small sense of achievement before you've actually done the work. It feels good in the moment, but that feeling can quietly reduce your motivation to keep going. In other words, talking about success can sometimes trick your brain into feeling successful. Now let's back to Jack Ma's story again. In the early days of Alibaba, almost nobody in China believed the internet would change the future. He could have spent all his time trying to convince people they were wrong. But he didn't do that. Jack Ma knew what was truly matter. Actions are louder than words. Instead, he and his small team stayed focused on building their company. Month after month, they kept improving their product, while most people ignored them. Eventually, the results became impossible to ignore. That's the power of quiet work. You don't need to win every argument when your work can speak for itself. So let me ask you a question. Are you spending more time talking about your goals or actually working on them? It's an uncomfortable question, but an important one. Feel free to tell me your experience and how you do to get over it under the comment sections. Now, here's a simple challenge. The next time you feel excited about a new idea, don't post about it. Don't announce it. Don't wait for likes or encouragement. Instead, spend that same time taking one real step toward making it happen. Write the first page. Send the first email. Finish the first lesson. Then repeat that tomorrow. Remember this, people may applaud your plans for a day, but they'll respect your results for years. Build first. Talk later. Let your actions introduce you before your words ever do. Lesson 5. Your future is hiding inside today's small habits. Build good ones until they become part of who you are. Let me ask you something. What did you do yesterday that made your future a little better? If you can't answer that question, don't worry. Most people can't. We tend to believe that success comes from one big decision, a creative idea, or a perfect plan. But in reality, it's built through hundreds of small activities and decisions repeat day after day. Here's the honest truth. Nobody wakes up hoping to fail, but many people never create habits that lead them towards success. At first, every good habit feels uncomfortable, such as waking up early, doing exercise in a hot day. You have to remind yourself to do it, but nothing seems to change. You don't look healthier after one workout. You don't speak fluent English after one lesson. You don't become wealthy after saving a few dollars. That's exactly why so many people quit. They expect results before the habit has had time to work. This is where discipline becomes more important than motivation. Motivation is an emotion. It comes and goes. Some mornings you feel excited, and other mornings you don't want to do anything at all. Discipline is what keeps you going when motivation disappears. It's the decision to keep showing up, even when nobody notices and nothing seems to be changing yet. Jack Ma understood this better than most people. As a teenager, he rode his bicycle every morning to hotels in Hangzhou just to practice English with foreign visitors. He wasn't paid. Nobody gave him a certificate or promised him success. Yet he kept doing it for nearly 9 years. That one small daily habit eventually gave him the confidence and communication skills that helped him build a global business. Think about this for a moment. What habit are you repeating every single day without even noticing? Because whether it's a good habit or a bad one, it's quietly shaping the person you'll become. So here's your challenge tonight. Choose just one habit that's so small you can't make an excuse to skip it. Read one page, Do 10 push-ups. Learn 5 new English words. Save $1. Then do it again tomorrow, at the same time. The goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to become the kind of person who keeps promises to yourself. Remember, your future isn't created in one extraordinary day. It's created in the ordinary days that most people overlook. That's where real change begins. Even the most disciplined people still fail sometimes, and that brings us to lesson 6. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. Let me ask you something. What's one failure you still think about today? Maybe it was a job interview you didn't get, an exam you failed, or a business idea that never worked out. At the time, it probably felt like the end of the road. But was it really the end, or just the beginning of a better lesson? Imagine spending days preparing for an important interview. You practice your answers, choose your best clothes, and walk in believing this could change your life. Then a short email arrives. We've decided to move forward with another candidate. In just a few seconds, your confidence disappears. It's easy to think, maybe I'm just not good enough. But one rejection doesn't define your ability. It simply shows that there's something new to learn before the next opportunity arrives. Jack Ma understood this better than almost anyone. He was rejected by dozens of employers, including KFC. He applied to Harvard 10 different times and was rejected every single time. Investors turned down Alibaba in its early days because they didn't believe his idea would work. Most people would have seen those moments as proof to quit. Jack Ma saw them as lessons. Years later, he often joked about those rejections because they no longer represented failure. They represented growth. Think about learning English. Have you ever forgotten a word in the middle of a conversation and immediately felt embarrassed? Everyone has. The people who become fluent aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who keep speaking after making them. Every mistake teaches your brain something that success never could. So the next time life doesn't go your way, don't ask, "Why did this happen to me?" Ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" That one question changes failure from an ending into a beginning. Here's your challenge tonight. Before you go to bed, write down one mistake you made this week and one lesson you learned from it. That's all. Because every failure leaves behind a piece of wisdom, but only if you're willing to look for it. And remember this, failure doesn't decide your future. Giving up does. Last, but also the most important lesson, protect your health. Because success means very little if you don't have the strength to enjoy it. Let me ask you a simple question. What's the point of reaching your dream if you're too exhausted to enjoy it? It sounds obvious, but it's something many people forget. Imagine someone who wakes up before sunrise, works late into the night, skips meals, sleeps only a few hours, and proudly says, "I'll rest when I'm successful." From the outside, people admire their dedication. They look productive. They look ambitious. But behind the scenes, their body is becoming more tired every day, and so is their mind. One day, they stop because they reached their goal. Another day, they stop because they simply can't keep going. Those are two very different endings. Think about everything we've talked about today. Taking responsibility, chasing your dream, protecting your focus, working quietly, building good habits, learning from failure. None of those things can last if you don't take care of yourself. Your body is the engine behind every goal you have. When the engine is running well, everything becomes easier. When it's running on empty, even simple tasks begin to feel difficult. Productivity isn't just about how many hours you work, it's about how much energy you bring to those hours. Jack Ma understood this. Even while leading one of the world's largest companies, he made time to practice Tai Chi regularly. He often spoke about balance, believing that lasting success comes from taking care of both your work and your well-being. He knew that a healthy mind makes better decisions, and a healthy body gives you the energy to keep moving forward. So here's one final challenge. What is one thing you can do today that your future self will thank you for? Maybe it's going to bed 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's taking a walk after dinner, drinking more water, or putting your phone away before you sleep. It doesn't have to be a huge change. Small choices, repeated every day, become a healthy life. Remember this: your dreams need your effort, but your effort needs your health. Protect it, because every goal you have depends on it. Now, let's bring everything together. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. There are 2 different versions of you. One keeps making excuses, stays up late, scrolling through social media, keeps comparing their life to strangers online, keeps waiting for the perfect moment, and that moment never comes. 5 years pass, but very little changes. The other version makes a different choice. They take responsibility for their life. They protect their focus. They build small habits, learn from failure, and keep moving forward even when progress feels slow. Nobody notices those small choices at first, but after 5 years, the difference is impossible to miss. Both versions begin in exactly the same place, today. The only thing that separates them is what they choose to do next. So let me ask you one final question. Which version are you becoming today? Success has never been one big moment. It's the result of small decisions, repeated long after the excitement disappears. Real change is usually so slow that you can't see it happening. Then one day, you look back and realize you've become someone you couldn't imagine before. Before you go to bed tonight, grab a piece of paper and answer one simple question. What did I do today that my future self will thank me for? Don't worry if the answer is small. Small actions are exactly how big futures are built. And remember where this story began. A young man from Hangzhou who was rejected again and again. Rejected by employers, rejected by investors, rejected by Harvard 10 different times. Most people would have accepted those rejections as the end of the story. Jack Ma didn't. He focused on becoming a little better every day instead of proving himself to everyone else. That's how an unpaid tour guide who practiced English on a bicycle became the founder of Alibaba. The biggest difference wasn't talent, it was that he kept going when most people would have stopped. So if you're comparing your beginning to someone else's middle, stop for a moment. You're not behind. You're simply on your own path, moving at your own pace. You don't need to change your whole life today. You only need to make one good decision, then another tomorrow, and another the day after that. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, my friends. If this video helped you focus a little more on your own journey, I'd love for you to subscribe and join us again. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.